A to the K.
To the K.
To the K.
Hello, one and all. Welcome to the A2theK Wrestling Show, where today we've got a very serious question.
We have.
Has the Money in the Bank run its course?
Yes.
Okay, we'll see you next week. Hey.
No,
I feel like we do this joke way too often now.
Do you know what? This is an interesting one because originally, for those who care about how we process these things, we were debating on putting this as a debate. So we have a segment that we like to do where one of us has to argue in favour and one of us has to argue against in a typical debate style. And originally we were going to be talking about Money in the Bank in much the same way, but I think the trouble is we want to discuss it without that sort of caveat because neither of us kind of want to defend this. We're both coming at it from a similar point, so we just want to talk about it a bit more freely. So we've ended up with we'll pose the question to yourselves and we'll discuss the question ourselves.
Yeah.
Has it had its day?
Yeah, so I think obviously, unless you've been living under a rock, you will have seen all of the backlash.
Not the rock.
No. I mean, if you live under the rock, then, you know.
I mean, it's plenty of shade.
Yeah, to be fair. But yeah, you will have seen all the fallout from obviously Austin Theory cashing in his Money in the Bank on Raw this, 2 days ago. And he cashed it in for the United States Championship. Not a world main title.
Right.
And
okay, let's moan about this.
He lost.
Let's moan about this for starters, right? I don't know how you feel about it. I have no issue cashing in for a lesser title.
I do.
Right.
Maybe this should have been a debate.
If he wants to cash in for a lesser title, right, because he's after Seth or whatever, right? They could have made that story because he used to be a disciple of Seth, right?
Yeah.
So the story was there, right? They could have gone with that and increased, kept telling you why his motivation was to go after Seth, right? The stupidity of cashing in for the US title was the fact that Seth was offering open challenges.
Yeah.
You didn't need to waste the fucking money.
Well, I mean,
you didn't need to waste the fucking briefcase on it.
Yeah.
Right? So that pisses me off. It was a stupid way of getting the briefcase off him.
Yeah.
But they reckon they're saying they've made history because they've made it very clear you don't have to cash in for a main title.
But for me, I just think it's stupid because you've got a contract that guarantees you a title opportunity for now apparently any title you choose. Why wouldn't you go after the main titles? Why wouldn't you want to be the main champion of the company? He's been a US champ before. It just doesn't make any sense. For me, where the problem is, and especially over the last couple of years, is they just haven't thought it through.
Yeah.
So obviously, fair play. Austin Theory was a Vince McMahon guy, right? That was clear. And people have said since Triple H has come in, look, he's basically burying Austin Theory and all this. Whatever, whether there's any truth to that, I don't really know. But clearly, it has gone the way that it probably would have done under Vince McMahon. It's fair to say. Yeah. But as you've said previously, Otis is another prime example of this, where they've put it on somebody
and shit the bed.
And they've shit the bed.
Yeah.
Right?
Otis would have been, to do something like this, Otis would have been the better shout. I mentioned it when we were on another podcast earlier. And I'll mention it again, that the Otis one, if he cashed in for Heavy Machinery to get their shot at the tag titles, that would have been heartwarming and would have made sense more so than this.
Yeah, well, it would have made sense from a character standpoint.
I don't have an issue with the cash in for a different title.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, but there are so many reasons. This doesn't make sense because of why they've done it or how they've done it now, but it could make sense. If Theory knew that he weren't going to beat Roman, tried to capitalize on an opportunity for a lesser title against someone who he realistically could beat, that'd be one thing. But Seth is a legend, and you kind of discrediting Seth versus Roman, aren't you? Saying, well, I can't beat Roman, so I probably can beat Seth. It's a bit of a disrespect in some senses. So even that, from that standpoint of being a Weasley heel type guy, of going, well, I can definitely beat him. You know, I mean, it doesn't make sense either. So
you can make a million excuses for it, being like, well, he's the youngest Money in the Bank holder, and he's inexperienced, and he's made a rash decision and all this. I just don't think anyone who has that, in the real world, I don't see why anybody wouldn't go after that main title. And also, why wouldn't you cash it in at the most opportune time?
He cashed in, or he tried to cash in twice on the main title, and got ousted, gazumped, whatever you want to call it. He got knocked the fuck out by Tyson. So you go, well, you've been trying to cash in for the main title. So what we don't even know what changed his mind, motivation wise.
But even stuff like that, it just doesn't make sense, does it? It's like, what? So it becomes harder to cash in for the main title now. So people are going to punch you less if you cash in for the... Because that's what happens.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? There was no other reason why you couldn't cash in on the main title other than, Tyson Fury was in the crowd one time, or so. There was no like, oh, it's because these guys like the bloodline would never let him anywhere near. It wasn't anything thought through as that.
I mean, he could have waited till. All he needs is a referee. He could have waited till Roman was asleep.
This is true, actually. This is.
Well, we said that about the 24/7 title. That would have been a funny way to do
it. Which also got binned this week, which was hilarious. Well, she missed.
Honestly,
the bin, but
they might as well have just combined both fuckeries and had him cash in for the 24/7 title and immediately lose the fucking thing.
Yeah, I mean, well, to be fair, that's one of the reasons why I thought about this with the 24/7 title going in the bin. Do you think this is also going to be the way of the Money in the Bank? So if you think about it, we've had Money in the Bank.
Yeah,
for 17 years.
That's a long time.
That's a long fucking time, right?
Time.
It doesn't feel like 17 years. It is 17 years, right? And it started out at WrestleMania, which I think we've both discussed previously. Felt like a nice thing.
Yeah.
Starting out WrestleMania, there's a ladder match at Mania to look forward to where there's something on the line. Makes sense. But for the last 12 years, let's make it its own thing. Let's have a Money in the Bank briefcase that people can walk around with up to a whole year and all this kind of stuff, right? Even that bothers me. So it bothers me that the they're now making poor choices on who to put it on and potentially rash choices. But you've got this whole a year to cash in thing. And I think that's part of the problem. Not for the women.
Yeah.
Because obviously they decided to introduce a women's one because they were like, well, we need one there as well, right?
Sure.
Okay. So they've done that. And then I think bar Carmella and Asuka, everyone else has cashed in on the same night or the following day.
Yeah.
So the women hardly ever hold the briefcase.
Yeah.
But, you've got the guys holding it for...
just turned it into a lunchbox for months.
Well, it's stuff like that. Like, they run out of things to do with it. Like when it first started and it was like... Because ultimately, take away the gimmick of the briefcase, you're fighting for a contract, right?
Yes.
It's just a briefcase looks a bit nicer than a piece of paper. Yeah?
Yeah.
So you're fighting for a contract. Like, it's when they turned that briefcase into this accessory and it became... They made
it's as
too
frustrating
much
as
of
a
it.
crown, isn't it?
Yeah, basically, yeah. It's as much of a fucking gimmick killer as King of the Ring.
The gimmick killer sounds like a fucking gimmick in itself.
But it's true though, isn't it? Like, it became like, well, you've got to have this briefcase and carry it around all the time. And you mentioned then, like, Otis putting his lunch in it, like Brock Lesnar turned it into a fucking boombox.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, and then
it's become less about the cash in and more about what you can do with it.
Yeah.
Like, Theory hasn't really done anything with the briefcase. He's just been so unsuccessful in cashing in.
Mm.
But, like, they have to do something gimmicky and silly with it. When like, the memorable moments for Money in the Bank have been the cash-ins, haven't they? The actual memories forged.
So, before we get too rash and go, oh yeah, it's run its course and it's done and we don't need it anymore. Some of the best moments, like Seth Rollins, WrestleMania cash-in.
Oh yeah. Iconic.
Phenomenal, right? I don't think there's ever, is that the greatest WrestleMania moment of all time? It's up there.
It's certainly up there, yeah. Coming up next in our top 10.
Yeah, probably. So we've got that, but then even for me, like the Dolph Ziggler cash in on Raw, like the night after WrestleMania, I think it was. And obviously Del Rio had just won or defended the title, and his music played, and the fans went apeshit, and it was such a big fucking huge moment for him. Yeah. So it does create moments.
Yeah.
Or it has.
I think for me, if I'm being honest, I don't think Money in the Bank as a concept has had its day. I think the Money in the Bank pay-per-view has had its day. Okay. I think it suffers the same curse as Elimination Chamber, Hell in a Cell, etc., where we're now having it for the sake of having it. Right? If we cooled off Money in the Bank for a few years and they brought a match back, a Money in the Bank match at Mania, that wouldn't be too bad, especially if they had a reason for it. I think the problem we're getting now is they're putting the briefcase on people that they don't have a plan for because they needed to have the pay-per-view. Yeah. And this is the issue, that they're compelled to have a pay-per-view that has a Money in the Bank match when in actual fact they had no plans for Roman to ever lose the title in the next year. So what was the fucking point? Yeah.
Yeah, because the calendar said they needed it. That's why they've done it.
And this is the trouble. They're dictated by the fact that, well, the pay-per-view's coming, we need something. And I think when we get rid of that shit, and if they drop Money in the Bank as a pay-per-view, there's no reason you can't have a Money in the Bank ladder match at some point in the future. Like, it's the same, it's a gimmick, isn't it? It's a gimmick in the same way that having one of these tournaments where the winner can get a title shot, which we mentioned earlier, you can't really have a World Cup that has anything more meaningful than a trophy because there's already some twat walking around with a briefcase.
Yeah, exactly. But like for me, I think so. I completely agree. We're having it because it's in the calendar, and we've got to have it every year, even if it's not well thought out. But I do think what part of the problem is they've got a full year to cash it in.
Yeah,
and I get that makes it more intriguing because it could be unannounced and all this kind of stuff. But for me, if you think about the premium live event calendar or the pay-per-view calendar, we've always said, haven't we, is like the pacing and the spacing of it needs to be better. Like you win the Royal Rumble, you get a title shot at WrestleMania, clear, right? Then it used to be at WrestleMania, you win the Money in the Bank, and then that starts off the next storyline with whoever won at Mania for the belt. Because
and the tie-in was quite nice.
Yeah, and it was like, oh, well, I could cash on you in on you tonight. I could cash in, tomorrow, and it was like, oh, but then that kind of run its course a bit. I wonder whether you have it. You bring, because there's talk about bringing back King of the Ring as well. You find a point in the calendar where when we do have these down seasons, and it's kind of like, well, what's happening between WrestleMania and SummerSlam? Not a lot. King of the Ring might be good there. What's happening between SummerSlam and Royal Rumble? Well, we've got Survivor Series, but it doesn't mean anything. What's the, like maybe you stick something there where it's like,
what do you mean? Have a Money in the Bank match at Survivor Series?
Yeah, but or something like that where you then, but we know the cash-in, or at least you've got between now and we've got.
Yeah, you're not giving them a year. You've got till that particular
because
date.
I think that's half the problem is you go, well, Otis might be he's doing well with the crowd at the minute. Let's give it to him.
Let's say they kept it, but they changed the rule to you have until the next big four. If they I don't know if they publicly acknowledge that, but they have the big four.
Yeah.
So they have until the next one. So when do they typically run Money in the Bank? What's the next big pay-per-view after Money in the Bank?
Money in the Bank's usually June, isn't it? So SummerSlam.
So you have until SummerSlam. I'd say they adjusted it, so you have until SummerSlam.
Yeah. Would
you're not interfering with anything else. You have until SummerSlam to cash that shit in.
Yeah, which again, that could work, couldn't it? So whether it's King of the Ring, whether it's Money in the Bank, whatever, you have something to, because we always say there's a massive lull between WrestleMania and, well, we get that hype, don't we? Let's be honest. Rumble season, mate, it was like the fucking best time to be a wrestling fan. After WrestleMania and after the Raw after Mania.
Yeah, you give them to the Raw after Mania and then you kind of...
You see what happens, who are they bringing up, what the new direction going to be. Then after a couple of weeks, you're like, boring again now.
And you wait for Rumble again.
Yeah, and it's the same. So there needs to be something which is going to ignite your interest later in the year. So something like this could be, like, that's how you get, like, the interest in SummerSlam. You do something June, July, and whoever wins can like cash in or have a title shot between now and then. So that they're a challenger that's coming soon. Yeah. Not someone who's got a briefcase that you forget about and randomly, oh, fucking hell, they're cashing in. I'm already invested in this story over here. Yeah. So it would apply to the story almost. He becomes the next challenger or she becomes the next challenger because they've got the contract that gives them the shot. Yeah.
I like it.
So,
but I think we both then, initially, we both being able to agree that the pay-per-view itself should fuck off.
I think so. I mean,
I know what you've just been saying, like if we shorten our time, it could fix it. But I think if we had our choice, the pay-per-view should fuck off. It could just
be like a ladder match. It doesn't even need to be for a briefcase. It should just be for
a title shot.
A title shot. Yeah. That's all it is. It's a creative way to give somebody a title shot.
It's a visual thing. Like, I get that they might want to keep the briefcase from a selling standpoint. They sell the briefcases, don't they? And people like to buy them and collect them. So there's sales to be had there. So I get that. Even the briefcase is getting a bit boring now.
Yeah. But I mean, to be fair though, is the briefcase just, like as you said before, is it just as troublesome as a crown at this point?
Well, it becomes your gimmick for
being the king of the ring shouldn't result in, well, yeah, I'm now the king or the queen for until the next one. It should be you've won a tournament to get a title shot. It should always be about the title shot. And
whereas now it's like, here's an annoying thing to carry around for you.
Exactly. Thanks. Like, here's your new gimmick, or here's your annoying prop. Yeah, that's what it is. And they've lost sight of what the whole point was about. It's always been, like for me, when it was awesome, when they did it at WrestleMania, it was a bunch of guys who were like the up and comers that you were like, these guys are on the cusp of getting a title shot. Yeah. Someone's going to fucking get that shot tonight. And that's why you were invested in it. Now it's just, oh, who have we got nothing for? I know, we'll give it to this person. Or what's the shock value? Yeah.
It's interesting the way the Money in the Bank's gone because they've stopped, like, certainly in recent years, it's like people like AJ Styles or whoever that you're clearly gearing into some sort of main title scene aren't getting these now. It's like, it's almost too obvious to give it to those guys. So you give it to random people. And then, like Austin Theory, they were never going to give him the title over Roman, and they may have tried to do a match, but I'm not surprised they've gone the way they've gone. No, there's just it's just absolutely no direction.
It's so unmemorable the last few winners to me, and I know, I mean, at least two of the last like 2 or 3 years have failed their cash-ins.
Yeah.
So Otis lost it in a match to the Miz, right? And then Theory did that. So I think there's some things we differ on. Like I still don't think he should be able to apply it to any title. I think it should be a title shot for either the Raw or SmackDown Women's title, or it's tricky at the minute with Roman, but for the Universal or for the WWE title.
Okay, I get what you're saying about they shouldn't be able to. What if it weren't their choice? What if the next Money in the Bank to do is for a shot at the IC or US title?
I mean, that would... Again,
so it doesn't affect the main title scene at all.
That would be a nice way to do it. Because we've always said as well that the mid-card scene just doesn't have the focus, does it? And fair dues, we've had Gunther and Sheamus and stuff, which has elevated that a little bit. And to be honest,
Seth's doing a good job with the US title as well.
Yeah, but he's only just got it, hasn't he? Like, who had it before? Was it Bobby? I don't want to...
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think it was Bobby.
Yeah, it's like,
but again, it's not doing a great deal, but he's hopefully building it. Like, what's happened here is clear that they're keeping it on him for a little bit, and I think they need to. But if they, let's say they made it just a mid-card thing, I don't think they'd have a pay-per-view for a shot at a mid-card title. No. I don't think they'd do that.
Which, to be fair, I think that's why it fits so well at WrestleMania, because a lot of the main eventers were already in feuds and storylines.
To be honest, it kind of makes WrestleMania a little bit annoying for me now, because we mentioned this before, and it's no disrespect to the Memorial Battle Royal, because I understand it's in memory of Andre the Giant, but you get a trophy, an Andre trophy.
Yeah.
Right? Which I'm sure they put in the den or something when they win it, right? But you get nothing for it. I'm all for the trophy, but like get a shot as well.
Yeah.
Or we have the Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
At the pay-per-view.
It worked perfectly. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't know what it is about WrestleMania. There always needs to be a ladder match at WrestleMania. There has to be. Yeah. They're always so fucking good. So whether it was Money in the Bank or even when it was like the Intercontinental one that they did with when Ambrose and Luke Harper and all that were there, like. They were so good. I think Daniel Bryan won it, didn't he? So, you know, it's not WrestleMania without a proper multi-man ladder match.
I agree. What we need, I think, initially is Money in the Bank to go away for a few years. I think they need to put it away completely for a few years and let us miss it a little bit.
Yeah.
And I don't think it should be a pay-per-view. I think bring it back as a match type.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what they do. So obviously the rumours are that Triple H is basically binning off Hell in a Cell as a pay-per-view. He's binning off... I don't think they've been off Elimination Chamber, or it's not being confirmed anyway.
I mean, they could do it, because it's the exact same as Hell in a Cell, where you go, well, we're having it because we have to have it.
Yeah, that's what... Like, even... Like, I know we're going on a tangent for a minute, but what do you get for winning the Elimination Chamber? It worked a little bit when there was a brand split, because it was whoever won the Rumble picked their title, and then they could challenge for it.
Yeah,
and then the Elimination Chamber would be either against, with the champ in there to see who goes into the Mania as champ, or it would be who's going for the other belt.
Yeah.
Right? And it made sense. Now, why do it? And
exactly.
It's like, I don't know, that's a good gimmick in itself, but it means nothing. You don't get anything.
No, I agree.
So I don't care.
Yeah. But this is why if they got rid of the pay-per-view, same way they're doing Hell in a Cell, you have it when you need it.
Yeah, Hell in a Cell does me a bit more, though, because it's like, that's meant to be... That's where you settle your feud. Like, there's only one way. We're going to lock you in a cell. You can't escape it. You have to settle it.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, we've got Hell in a Cell. Let's put Cody Rhodes in there. Why?
Against Seth. Because, you know, they spoke once.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
Bizarre.
Crazy stuff, man. Crazy stuff.
But yeah, what do you make...
It's run its fucking course.
So, obviously, we seem quite impassioned about it. What do you make of all the fallout from... Like, cause obviously you've seen people now going, you know, Triple H has lost it. You know, Vince McMahon would never have, you know, done stuff like this and all that.
I think...
What do you think about how it all unfolded?
I mean, I think it's clear Vince McMahon wouldn't have done this, but that's not necessarily a good thing. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
You know, I think, again, it's not going exactly the way people want it, so they're dogging on Triple H, and it's a difficult thing to call, isn't it, of what do you do with it? Yeah. Like, it's a difficult spot to be in, especially because, by all accounts, the promise Triple H had to keep was Roman keeps the title until Mania, until he faces The Rock. Now, I don't know how true that is, but that's the rumour that was the one thing he said to him when he retired, is keep the belt with Roman until he faces The Rock at Mania.
Yeah, and he's not going to say no to his father-in-law, is he? So,
exactly. So what do you do? Because Austin has to do something with this fucking briefcase.
But I think, though, to be fair, I would be, because I'm not massively, like, there's a lot of people who are so upset and like, hate Triple H. It's like, all right, I didn't like it, but who gives a shit, right? I'm not like anti Triple H or WWE or anything. I just didn't agree with the decision. But for me, the main problem I had with it wasn't the fact that it was a failed cash-in, because that you can't expect everyone who has it to win.
No,
that's fine. It was just the fact that he went for the US title, and then you've made me hate it even more by going, well, he had an open challenge as well, didn't he? So, well, fucking hell, yeah, of course. Yeah. Even more stupid.
He waited to the end of the open challenge.
Yeah,
to cash in.
It made no sense. He could have just had the open challenge, lost the match, and then gone, oh, by the way, I'm now going to cash in, and
that would have been more creative.
You know what I mean? Like,
to be pissed off, he lost the open challenge and cash in,
get a second shot
to do it again. Yeah.
So,
but honestly, right, look at the hell of a match that I don't know, it probably would have been, I'm going against my own decision now. I was saying, look at the hell of a match they had at Crown Jewel. Like, being an opportunistic person, Theory should have tried to cash in there and got just smashed by Roman.
Yeah, which would have been fine. It would have made sense.
Yeah.
And like,
it might have been too much. That's why I'm going against it, because it might have been too much going on at that pay-per-view.
Yeah.
But at the same time, for me, the easiest thing they could have done is have him try and cash in on Roman and can't do it.
Yeah.
He's still green, he's still young, it's not going to affect him too much, and it just proves Roman just can't be beaten.
But like, the thing is, like, it hasn't benefited anybody.
No.
Because it's like, well, Seth Rollins, beat Theory, cool. You know what I mean? And it's like, well, Theory's lost his thing.
And annoyingly, though, there's a whole fucking story there. I don't know if they're going to go for it, but there's a whole story there. He used to be a disciple of Rollins, and Rollins just literally abandoned them.
Yeah, they're probably like pretending that doesn't even exist. You know what I would have liked to have maybe seen is him challenge, like, go after Roman or something. Maybe there's a match on SmackDown. Roman's, just managed to come out of it somehow, challenges him, and then Sami Zayn helps Roman win.
Yeah.
And so it's like he set up something with Sami Zayn and Austin Theory or something. You know what I mean? Like, that could have worked.
Yeah. And it also starts sowing the seeds of, like, he would have lost if it went
exactly. And you know what I mean? Like, it just kicks off so many little threads. But
no, let's do it this way, where nothing makes sense and everyone's annoyed.
So I think that's my biggest gripe with it, is I just don't think the timing was appropriate. Like, I'm a big Theory fan as well.
What's the thing? You're a Theory fan. Were you happy with him winning the Money in the Bank in the first place? Because I wasn't, but were you
I didn't mind
quite okay with it?
Yeah, I can't remember who else was in there now, but for me it was like, that was it, because he got added last minute. He wasn't even in it, was he? And it was so I think I didn't mind him winning it, but I think the fact he got added into it made me think, oh, he's going to win it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So that was a shame, because it would have been nice if he just won it out of nowhere when no one expected him to.
Yeah.
But the kid's got potential. He's got, he's got decent in-ring chops.
Yeah, I mean, he won it at the absolute worst time, because all I've ever said about him, because I know what you're saying, he's doing the right heel thing. You were a fan and people hated him, but that was meant to be the point. But it was just never realistically going to go against Roman.
No.
And that straight away, it's like, well, you've won it at the absolute worst time, because there's no chance you're going to cash in successfully.
No.
I didn't think they were going to do this. But
yeah, and I think that really cements the point you're making around, like, it shouldn't be its own thing, because they do it just for doing its sake, even when it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, the last 2 years have proved that.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like, I mean, obviously, it's quite clear then that we think there shouldn't be a separate thing. The match in itself could still.
I think the match type could still exist. I think we need to cool it for a couple of years, to be honest. I think get rid of the pay-per-view and don't have a Money in the Bank match for a while.
Okay.
And then bring it back when it's relevant, when it's needed. It's like having a TLC every other weekend. It's just pointless.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think it needs to go away as such. Maybe just be rebranded. So I agree it shouldn't have its own thing, but I think it should be part of, I don't know, say it's part of SummerSlam to get you through to Survivor Series, who's going to challenge Survivor Series, or be part of Survivor Series.
I'm totally fine with that. I just think the reason I'm saying, like, cool it for a bit is just so that people can kind of miss it as a match type, you know?
Yeah.
Because absence does make the heart grow fonder.
I agree. I think it's annoying though, because it's like it gets its own thing around it being its own match type, but it's just a ladder match at the end of the day with something on the line, and I love ladder matches. But I think it's just
there's a briefcase.
This is true. I think
I think, like, let's be honest, it'll always be better than an actual brass ring.
That is true, or a giant casino chip.
It'll always be better than one of those two things.
So, at least it's something people actually carry around and could store a contract in.
Yeah. Like, what do you do with that fucking giant casino chip?
You tell us, MJF, what do you do with it?
And unless you're Sonic, what do you do with that fucking ring?
This is a very good point. So that's our rant. So I think, we ultimately think it's run its course, at least to some degree.
In terms of a pay-per-view, definitely.
Yeah. So let us know. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you love the Money in the Bank? Did you love the fact that Austin Theory,
stupidly cashed in?
Do you not mind that he cashed it in on the US title? There's so much to unpack.
Challenge.
So much to unpack. But let us know. That's why we do these things. We want to hear your thoughts as well and see, Do you agree with us? Do you disagree? But yeah, I think obviously this was again another impromptu segment based on the fallout from Raw. So we're doing these a lot. We're doing these a lot at the minute. But let us know, did you enjoy this? Also, if you are not watching us on Pro Wrestling TV, why the hell not?
Do it.
Do it now.
Do it.
You can watch us, and then once you finish watching our awesome show, you can watch a plethora.
You can watch a plethora. Love it.
Plethora of fantastic other wrestling content on there.
Yeah, you can watch the likes of TNT, local lads.
Yeah.
That's not a subtitle, by the way. It's just they are local.
Got TNT, Women's Wrestling Army.
South,
They've
Women's
just
Wrestling
got
Army.
Major League Wrestling, MLW, the new home.
Goddamn right.
Pro Wrestling TV.
And if you like Major League Wrestling and you want to go and watch Major League Wrestling on there, what you can also watch is our interview with Alex Hammerstone, their current world champion.
Indeed. So go and check that out as well. He's an awesome dude.
Indeed.
And yeah, you're awesome people. Also, don't forget Top Rope. You can use A2theK 10.
That is
true. Go to topropebrewing.com and pick yourself up some of their new kegs. Delicious flavours,
kegs,
birthday
kegs
flavours.
10% off those kegs. So buy 2.
Indeed. And head over to Pro Wrestling Tees, and whichever ones they let us sell, you can pick them up there.
You can. You can
so
buy a plain black tea from Pro Wrestling Tees.
Yes, you can. So yeah, I think that's pretty much everything for this week. So until next time, we will say bye.
Adieu.